My fiancé left me at the altar and told everyone I cheated. 5 years later, I walked into a boardroom to pitch my company, and he was the one serving coffee. I deserve this. The humiliation burning through my chest as I stared at Sarah's back while she filled water glasses around the conference table wasn't karma catching up to me, it was karma being generous. 5 years late, but still kinder than I had any right to expect. I cheated on her 3 weeks before our wedding. Not a drunken mistake or a moment of weakness. I cheated because Lisa from my marketing firm looked at me like I was the only man in the world, and Sarah looked at me like I was her comfortable future. We'd been together 4 years, engaged for 8 months, and I convinced myself I was settling. That I deserved passion. That Sarah's steady love was somehow less valuable than Lisa's hungry attention. The affair lasted 2 months. Lisa would text me during Sarah's weekend book club meetings, during our quiet dinners, during the tux fittings where Sarah's dad talked about how proud he was to welcome me to the family. I told myself it was just emotional, we only kissed twice, but I was giving Lisa pieces of myself I'd never given Sarah. My real thoughts. My fears about marriage. My body language that screamed available every time she walked past my desk. Sarah knew something was wrong. She'd ask why I seemed distant, why I flinched when she touched me, why I suddenly needed space to think about the wedding. I told her it was normal pre-wedding jitters. I told her I loved her. I told her everything except the truth. The night before our wedding, Lisa texted, "Run away with me." I stared at that message for 3 hours while Sarah slept beside me, completely trusting, completely unprepared for what I was about to destroy. I didn't run. But I also didn't delete the message. And when Sarah's maid of honor found my phone the next morning, I'd left it charging in the groom suite like an idiot. The entire message thread was there. Months of emotional infidelity laid out in timestamps and heart emojis. Sarah read every single message while I was getting ready with my groomsmen. Her sister told me later that Sarah just sat there in her wedding dress, scrolling through my betrayal with the kind of calm that only comes from shock. She didn't scream. Didn't throw anything. She walked into the groom suite where I was adjusting my tie, held up my phone, and said, "Is this who you really are?" I could have lied. Could have claimed it was nothing, that Lisa meant nothing, that I chose Sarah by showing up. Instead, I looked at her in her wedding dress, this woman who'd loved me unconditionally for 4 years, and I told her the truth. That I'd been emotionally cheating for months. That I wasn't sure I wanted to marry her. That I thought I deserved something more exciting than her steady, reliable love. Sarah nodded once. Then she walked out to face 150 wedding guests and told them the ceremony was cancelled because her groom had been unfaithful. She didn't sugarcoat it or protect my reputation. She told her family, my family, all our mutual friends exactly why there would be no wedding that day. By the time I worked up the courage to leave the groom suite, the church was empty except for wilted flowers and my bow tie hanging loose around my neck like a noose I'd tied myself. The fallout was immediate and total. Sarah blocked me on everything before I even got home that night. When I tried calling her from different numbers, she'd changed her phone. When I showed up at her apartment, she'd already moved out. Her friends, our friends, cut me off completely. Her family, who'd treated me like a son for 4 years, acted like I'd never existed. Lisa ghosted me the day after the wedding. Turns out having an affair with an engaged man was thrilling, but being the reason someone's entire life imploded was messier than she'd signed up for. She transferred to the Chicago office within a week. I lost more than Sarah. I lost her extended family who'd welcomed me to every holiday. I lost couple friends who had to pick sides and chose the one who hadn't destroyed a wedding in front of everyone they knew. I lost the version of myself that believed I was a good person who'd just made one mistake. My own family was devastated. They'd paid for half the wedding, loved Sarah like a daughter, and couldn't understand how I'd thrown away something so good for someone who wouldn't even answer my calls anymore. My mom stopped talking to me for 6 months. My brother told me I was selfish and stupid, and he was right. The professional humiliation was almost worse. Word spread through our industry. We lived in a mid-sized city where everyone knew everyone. I became known as the man who cheated on his fiancée and got left at the altar. Job interviews dried up. Networking events became minefields of whispered conversations and pitying looks. I moved to Seattle, started over, poured everything into building my consulting firm. Therapy helped me understand that I'd sabotaged my relationship because I was terrified of committing to happiness I didn't think I deserved. But understanding why I destroyed everything didn't bring any of it back. And now here I was, 5 years later, watching Sarah serve coffee to the board of directors I was about to pitch. She looked good, older, more confident, wearing a server's uniform but carrying herself like she owned the room. She hadn't recognized me yet, and I had maybe 30 seconds before she turned around. When she did, her face went completely blank. No anger, no surprise, just the careful neutrality of someone who did 5 years to practice not feeling anything about me. "Hello, Sarah," I said, because pretending we were strangers would have been worse. She nodded once, the same nod she'd given me in the groom suite, and finished serving coffee without saying a word. My pitch was flawless. I'd built something real, something valuable, something that proved I could create instead of just destroy. The board was impressed. I landed the contract. But as I packed up my presentation materials, watching Sarah clear empty cups with the same quiet efficiency she'd brought to everything during our 4 years together, I finally understood what I'd actually lost. It wasn't just a wedding or a relationship. It was the only person who'd ever loved me enough to show up completely, and I'd been too stupid and selfish to recognize that steady love was the rarest thing I'd ever find. I built a successful business, but I never built another relationship that mattered. Because now I know the truth that took 5 years in a conference room full of strangers to teach me. Some mistakes don't teach you how to do better next time. Some mistakes just teach you how much better you had it before you destroyed it all.